I'm going to tell you about when one of the big IoT SIM card companies completely and utterly ripped the company I was working for off on the back of a contract that me, as finance director, signed off. I only ever got properly ripped off once in 23 years working in that firm. And the one time it happened was on the back of these IoT SIM cards. There is millions of them out there across plethoras of providers. And one particular one, which has come to mind right now, because I now part own an IoT SIM card company, this batch of routers is the final batch to remove yet another customer from this particular supplier, who I had best not name because they've got deep pockets and strong legal teams, as I found out. Here's what happened. Before I started KeySIM in 2019, I worked in a monitoring station and we used vast numbers of SIM cards. During the last 5 years in that business, I built a technology division which supplied personal safety devices, lone worker alarms. So if a person was in trouble, they would press the button, it would send a signal to the monitoring station, and we could send a police response. Did really well. We deployed like about 15,000 of them. So 15,000 SIM cards in there, 15,000 in other stuff. Went through like 30,000 SIMs. Anyway, about 4 years before I left, there was a batch of 5,000 SIM cards which were sat directly with one of the networks. So we were procuring directly from one of these four, okay? And we were approached by an alternative provider and they promised to reduce our prices while giving us at least equivalent service to the network. And when there's 5,000 of them and you can knock 30, 40p per month off and you're trying to run a business and grow it and you've got big overheads, you're going to listen. So they came in and they said, look, we can migrate them 5,000 SIM cards from the network to us, okay? And we were like, there's nothing to lose because the underlying technology is still the network. They're going to take over the billing and put it in their platform. It all looks good. The salesman was super professional, super nice, got on really, really well with him. Just couldn't see the downside. They presented the contract. We had a read through. We didn't get lawyers to look at it. Signed it off. And everything went okay. The platform wasn't as good as what they said. Service was decent, no change. It's a mobile network powering it. Not these fools in the middle. And it was all right. After 2 years, out of the 5,000 SIM cards that we migrated across. Now remember folks, we migrated them. This firm did not supply us with 5,000 pieces of plastic. They had already been deployed. We'd lost 1,000 of them, which is perfectly natural in the game that we were in. Devices get lost all the time. So we go to the supplier and say, look, we started off with 5,000. We've now run the full 2-year contract, okay? So we've paid for these SIMs for 2 years and we signed a 2-year contract. So as far as I'm concerned, you would think we're out of contract now. So we can cancel off this batch of 1,000. And remember, we're not cancelling them because we've moved to another supplier and we're trying to take the business away or anything like this. We're cancelling them because we've lost them. The customers have lost the SIM cards, right? And what happened next was absolutely stunning. They came back and said, fine, £15,000 please. We were like, 15 grand to cancel 1,000 SIMs? Where does that come from? And they said, well, there's an administration fee to cancel a SIM. Now bear in mind, they were charging us, I can't remember the precise figure, assume it was 50p a month. It was rock bottom, silly, cheap monthly fee. So 2 years of service, right, on that basis would have cost £12, but then to cancel it, 15. All of a sudden, it becomes blatantly clear what these absolute criminals do. They suck you in with super, super, super low headline prices, capture mass market, and then insert clauses that unless you've got a very, very expensive good solicitor to read over your contracts, get you and lock you in. This clause, which made reference to an administration fee on cancellation, was buried deep within pages and pages of terms and conditions in an Excel document embedded within a photograph. You couldn't even search it. It was horrific. And it didn't even say £15. It just said, we'll reserve the right to charge an administration fee to cancel if you can't return the physical SIM, which you never can. You can't get the physical pieces of plastic back. When you put them out at scale like that, you just can't. People have lost them, they're gone. So anyway, this rumbled on and on and on. And eventually, they sent us invoices for all this money. And we didn't pay it because we were talking to our solicitors, and in turn it went right up. I think we seeked counsel's opinion. We spent thousands on legal fees. But anyway, the solicitors and the barrister said that they would win. Not that you'd go all the way to court anyway for the sake of like 15 grand. What we were bothered about is though, there's another bloody 4,000 out there. It's not 15k, is it? There's another 4,000 times 15 quid that they've got us for. So, you know, it's 5,000 times 15 is what we're up against here. They've got us essentially round the neck for 75 grand. Thankfully, we didn't move 10 or 15 or 20 or 30,000 across like some businesses have got right now with this supplier. If you're watching it, check your contracts, folks, because you might know who I'm talking about. They're huge. Anyway, they then pulled an absolute masterclass from their side and said, well, if you don't pay us for them invoices there, we can disconnect the other 4,000 because you're in breach of our contract. Crazy. And then they even said, the games then started, like, if you re-sign on the 4,000 for another 3 years, we'll waiver these fees. And it was almost like, who are we dealing with? You absolute tramps. What they don't know is, do you know what we did? We thought, I bet these fools, when you send a big massive bag of SIM cards back, I bet they don't know which is which. If you say, here's X amount of them, they'll just assume that it's right. So we did that. We got, we didn't get 1,000, I think we got like 800 completely random SIM cards, which were not the ones they were billing us for, put them in a big bag, and said, there we go, there's 800 back, you can't charge us the admin fee. And they never, so I think we only paid like 200 times 15 in the end, because we knew that they wouldn't have the auditing capability to work out which SIM was which. So if you're watching, it wasn't even the SIMs that we migrated in the first place, so we won in the end. Anyway, there we go. Be very, very careful with your SIM contracts. And where all this led was, with what happened with them, plus some other issues that we had with SIM vendors, in 2019, we started our own SIM card company called KeySim, right? And now, this batch of Teltonicas, like I said before, is going out to a customer, and it's the final batch to remove them completely from the supplier who shafted me. And there's well over 5,000 and between 300 and 500 per month of these going on, which they're not getting now. So they also should be careful who they shaft, because you never know what the guy might do.